Britney Spears is an artist almost everyone knows. For years, she was a symbol of success, pop culture, and raw energy on stage. Her face was everywhere, and her songs were known around the world. To many, she was the smiling superstar who had it all under control. But behind that perfect image was a harsh reality that most people didn't really see. For 13 years, Britney lived under a system that stripped her of basic rights. She couldn't go out on her own, manage her own money, or choose who she spent time with. At one point, when she wanted to have her IUD removed, she was told she wasn't mentally stable enough to make that decision.
Do you feel out of control in your life?
No, I don't feel like it's out of control. I think it's too in control.
Britney's conservatorship lasted over a decade. It was public, widely covered by the media, and known to the world. And even though it was put in place under the guise of protection, the truth is, it completely took away her freedom. Worst of all, it happened right in front of everyone. In this video, I'll walk you through how it all started, what Britney's childhood was like, when her struggles began, and why the court decided she needed to be placed under conservatorship. I'll also break down what that conservatorship really meant, and finally, how a group of fans, dismissed by many as just noise, managed to spark a change that neither the music industry, the media, nor even the people closest to Britney could bring about. Britney Jean Spears grew up in the small town of Kentwood, Louisiana. From an early age, she stood out among her peers because of her extraordinary artistic talent. From a young age, she sang, danced, and trained in artistic gymnastics. She rose to fame early, joining the Mickey Mouse Club with future stars like Timberlake and Aguilera. Around that time, Britney reportedly began experimenting with alcohol. It's worth noting that she was only about 13 years old at the time. Sex entered her life just a year later, and by 15, she had allegedly already tried drugs. This confirms that the teenager was pushed too quickly into the ruthless world of show business, where there was great emphasis on achievement and success, and no one cared to provide the maturing girl with proper care. Not only did Britney's parents, Lynn and James, fail to protect her from the industry's pitfalls, but they also had huge expectations of their daughter. The Spears family may not have been extremely poor, but Britney's father's alcohol addiction quickly made their finances unstable. The financial uncertainty early on really affected their decisions about Britney's career. Rather than providing security for Britney, her parents became just another source of pressure. They weren't interested in their daughter's well-being. They only wanted to add more activities to her already packed schedule. However, the singer loved her loved ones very much and did all these things willingly, as long as she could provide a secure future for her family.
I think probably the best things about being famous is just knowing that my family is forever okay. Financially, I'll be able to support my family no matter what.
When Britney Spears was just 17 years old, she released the song Baby One More Time, which almost immediately became a worldwide hit. The music video for the song, in which Britney appears in a school uniform wearing full makeup and performing sensual dance moves, caused quite a bit of controversy. While the licentious schoolgirl image was part of a well-planned marketing strategy that helped sell the album, it also had a darker side. From the beginning, Britney was seen as both an artist and a sex object, which greatly impacted her psyche. For a young girl just entering adulthood, this meant that the expectations placed on her extended far beyond the stage. The early sexualization of Britney, of course, had its consequences. Her value as an artist became inextricably linked to her appearance, making it difficult for her to see herself in later years as anything other than a sex symbol. The media sexualized Britney Spears from an early age. As a teenager, she was publicly asked about her virginity, and talk show hosts made sexist comments about her without hesitation.
There's one subject we didn't discuss. What was that? Everyone's talking about it.
What?
Well, your breasts.
My breasts?
You seem to get furious when a talk show host comes up with this.
Her stage styles, prompted by her record label, often resembled those of an adult, rather than a girl who had just performed on the Mickey Mouse Club. This constant sexualization from the beginning of her career influenced how everyone around her, and most importantly herself, perceived her and her body. From the time of her debut, Britney lived under constant scrutiny, which quickly turned into obsessive paparazzi attention. Her every move made it to the front pages of tabloids, and reporters showed her no mercy. This also applied to Britney's personal life, of course. Just look at her relationship with Justin Timberlake. Britney and Justin met as children on the Mickey Mouse Club, and their youthful romance grew into America's perfect couple. Their joint appearances, matching styles, and red carpet moments were all for show. However, reality was gray and had nothing to do with the fairy tale. Their relationship was difficult, and their breakup was dramatic, especially after Justin released the single, Cry Me a River, suggesting that Britney had cheated on him. The media picked up the story and tore her apart. Many years later, Britney revealed her side of the story. In her autobiography, she wrote that she became pregnant while with Justin, but he insisted on an abortion, even though she really wanted to have the baby. This deep, intimate, and until now silent trauma was one of the moments that clearly left a mark on her psyche. This experience shows that Britney did not make decisions autonomously for most of her life. She was caught up in the expectations of her partners, the industry, and the public. All of this took a toll on her mental health. After her painful breakup with Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears tried to start over, but the world failed to give her space. Over time, the artist began to behave in an increasingly rebellious manner. Some said Britney was falling to the bottom, while others claimed she was simply trying to take control of her life. In 2004, she had a spontaneous wedding in Las Vegas that lasted only 55 hours and was subsequently annulled. A few months later, she started dating Kevin Federline, who quickly became her husband and the father of her children. She soon gave birth to 2 sons, Sean Preston and Jaden James, which coincided with her experiencing increasing mental strain. Britney suffered from postpartum depression, and on top of that, the media constantly attacked her, her appearance, how she held her baby, and how she acted.
What do you think it'll take to get the paparazzi to leave you alone?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is that one of your biggest wishes?
Whenever she tried to leave the house, she was surrounded by a crowd of photographers shouting and snapping flashbulbs, even when she was holding her baby. This was her daily routine. Reporters would not allow her a moment of privacy. In 2006, she was photographed driving with a baby in her lap. In a panic, she tried to escape the paparazzi. The photos ended up on magazine covers as proof of irresponsibility. With each passing month, it was apparent that Britney's mental state was only worsening. After her divorce from Federline and the death of her aunt, who was like a second mother to her, Britney completely fell apart in 2007. She attempted to recover at a rehabilitation center, but only lasted 24 hours. The next night, she stormed into a hair salon, grabbed a razor, and shaved her head. This act was probably her way of manifesting her freedom. However, this was just the beginning of her breakdown. A few days later, she attacked a photographer's car with an umbrella. This was the climax of the story. The world froze and everyone wondered what went wrong. To the public, it was an act of madness. However, no one considered it from Britney's perspective at that moment. Grief, postpartum depression, loneliness, and a sense of rejection, even from her own mother, had brought her to the brink of a breakdown. Shaving her head was not a sign of losing control, but a cry for help. She was fed up with being judged. She wasn't angry, just desperate and lonely. And then it only got worse. In May 2007, paparazzi nearly knocked her over on the stairs as she left the hotel with her baby. She tripped and almost dropped her son. In August, she was charged with causing a traffic collision and fleeing the scene, as well as driving without a license. In September, Britney Spears performed at the MTV Video Music Awards in Las Vegas. It was supposed to be her big comeback, but she was pale, absent, and confused. She had a panic attack before going on stage, but the band told her to perform anyway. The performance was a disaster. Instead of showing her sympathy, the media again attacked her for her movements, her body, and literally everything. A few weeks later, the court stripped her of custody of her sons. Then, in January 2008, Britney completely broke down. She barricaded herself and her children in the bathroom, refusing to hand them over to her ex-husband. She was then taken by ambulance to a psychiatric hospital. Helicopters, a police convoy, and dozens of paparazzi accompanied her. Photos of a distraught Britney hiding from the camera flashes in the ambulance made the rounds worldwide. Under the pretext of concern for her health, the system that was supposed to save her then brutally entered Britney's life. Instead of help, however, she experienced complete control. After everything that happened in early 2008, a court in Los Angeles ruled that Britney Spears was no longer capable of making decisions for herself. Officially, the reasoning was tied to mental health issues, and shockingly, the documents even mentioned dementia, which raised eyebrows from the start, considering Britney was just 26 years old at the time and had no history of neurological illness. As a result, she was placed under a conservatorship, a legal arrangement that stripped her of most of her basic rights. Her father, Jamie Spears, was appointed as her main conservator, alongside attorney Andrew Wallet. From that point on, they were in charge of every part of her life, both professional and personal. Britney couldn't manage her own money. She wasn't allowed to withdraw cash, sign a contract, hire her own lawyer, decide what to eat, or even drive a car. She had no control over who could visit her, who she could see, or what medication she was supposed to take. And yet, she kept working. In the years following the start of the conservatorship, Britney recorded 3 studio albums, went on 4 global tours, and signed a multi-million-dollar residency deal in Las Vegas, performing 4 times a week, 90 minutes a night, for years on end. So despite being declared legally unfit to take care of herself, her schedule looked more like that of a high-powered corporate executive. She didn't have access to her own money, but her performances were generating tens of millions of dollars. Her father, as conservator, received a steady salary, $16,000 a month, plus a percentage of every deal he signed on her behalf. Naturally, more and more people started asking the obvious question: was this conservatorship really about Britney's health, or was it always about the money? The question has kept fans, lawyers, journalists, and human rights activists guessing. On the one hand, yes, Britney had a difficult time. She experienced postpartum depression, fought for custody of her children, and lost control of her image and mental health. The conservatorship was intended to protect Britney and her children. However, the way the conservatorship was implemented and maintained for over a decade raises serious questions. For 13 years, Britney was not allowed to choose what to eat for dinner, who to meet, or whether to work. They said it was for her own good, but when she refused to perform again, they took away her phone and denied her contact with her children. When she wanted her IUD removed, she was told she was not mentally stable enough. Was this care or white glove violence? Many argue that there were other, less oppressive solutions. Rather than granting full conservatorship, they could have used a supported decision-making model or limited conservatorship to financial matters only. Neither of these scenarios was considered, however. Britney was trapped in a system designed to protect her that instead took away her basic human rights. At some point around 2019, people began to express serious concern about Britney. The singer started posting videos on Instagram that seemed strange. They were repetitive and unnatural, sometimes even disturbing. Some fans joked about it, but others took it seriously. Comments asked if she was okay. People started writing comments under her posts. For example, someone wrote that Britney should wear a yellow blouse if she needed help. In the next video, Britney appeared in a yellow blouse. Another comment suggested that she show pigeons if she was in danger. Shortly after, a picture of a painting featuring pigeons appeared on her profile. These signals were clear to many people. Britney was trying to communicate something, although she couldn't say it directly. That's when fans began to organize. They analyzed court documents and dissected every detail of her conservatorship. They sent letters, organized protests, and showed up at the courthouse with banners. Finally, their voice began to be taken seriously. When the 2021 documentary Framing Britney Spears was released, everything changed. The whole world saw how the system that had controlled her life for years really worked. The documentary revealed the extent of the control and the absurdity of her situation. The hashtag FREEBRITNEY movement has grown into a global phenomenon. While it has had its odd moments, it has led to a breakthrough on the issue. On November 12, 2021, a Los Angeles court officially ended Britney Spears' conservatorship. After 13 years, she was finally free. However, freedom didn't mean instant peace. It marked the beginning of a new chapter. Britney had to relearn how to live on her own terms, how to manage her time, money, and relationships. She married Sam Asghari, released a chart-topping single with Elton John, and published a best-selling memoir. Yet the public scrutiny never stopped. Her erratic Instagram posts, such as dancing half-naked and playing with knives, have sparked concern. Some view this as her reclaiming control, while others are concerned that she is still not well. Though formally free, Britney remains trapped in the spotlight. Now, the cage is digital. After years of being controlled, her behavior may seem extreme, but perhaps it's just what freedom looks like for someone who couldn't decide for over a decade whether she was even allowed to take a walk.